For people that use trains on a regular basis, something that's really important for them is to get to train stations quickly and easily. To achieve this, we need train stations spaced a reasonable distance apart from each other. So what is the optimal distance between train stations, and how can Melbourne improve? Well, there tends to be a major difference between train networks in city centres and train networks out in the suburbs. In city centres, train stations tend to be quite dense, usually spaced short distances apart from each other, and tend to be in highly built up areas. In the suburbs, however, train stations tend to be distanced a lot further apart than in the city. This is due to the suburbs having low density housing, meaning there is less demand. However, as our cities become increasingly reliant on suburban travel, is it time for a change? In Melbourne's inner suburbs, generally, train stations tend to be located about 700, 800 or 900 metres apart from each other, and don't usually exceed a 1 kilometre gap between train stations. And in Melbourne's middle suburbs, train stations tend to be about 1 kilometre to 2 kilometres and sometimes as much as 3 kilometres apart from each other, depending where you are, but it can really vary. But one trend that I've seen quite commonly is that train stations in Melbourne tend to be located near or next to major shopping precincts or main roads. Another thing that is just as important is the density of the housing around the train lines. And so this is the main reason why train stations in city centres tend to be closer together, because the housing density is higher. But with the suburbs rapidly growing, should more infill stations be added to the network? The only problem with this is that it slows down your travel time a lot, and the only solution to this would be express services. That's a story for another time. Of course, there's also the whole metro versus train thing, but because Melbourne only has suburban rail, we sort of got to find an in-between somehow. Metros would help solve this problem, but it doesn't look like there's much, if any, commitment to build one in Melbourne. There's also the slightly cheaper option of expanding the tram network, but it's the same story again. But for now, there is still some easy way to improve access to train stations out in the suburbs, like creating new bus routes to make it easier to get there, and more importantly, new cycle lanes. Let's hope that happens soon. If you enjoyed my boring rants and want to see more of these videos, please like the video and subscribe if you really feel like it. There should be some Queensland content coming soon. I hope that happens. But anyway, thanks for watching and goodbye, I guess.